Welcome back to another episode of Walking Atlanta. I am here interviewing Congressman-elect Case Norton.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right, so how have you been?
Been busy, gotta say. It's been a busy few months, especially the beginning of this year. Our momentum has been picking up, which has been great. We just hit our ballot access fee secured today, so that means in come first week of March, we'll be on the ballot. So we can't wait for that. We're very excited. The next phase is getting through the primary, getting that W at the end in November. So
Okay, congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. So how long have you been in Atlanta?
I've been in Atlanta since November of 2021.
Okay.
Yep.
And from where did you move?
So we my wife and I and our growing family moved originally from Los Angeles. I'm from San Luis Obispo, California, which is about 3 hours north on the coast. My wife is from Pittsburgh. So we met, she was doing hair on set. I was working on set as well. We kind of met there and we've been together ever since.
Okay, so you work in the movie industry.
Yep, I work in the movie industry. I work as a camera assistant or focus puller, as it's called on set, on commercials and television productions and movies as well. So it's been a really fun career. I've had the opportunity to work with some incredible people that the younger version of me would be so proud of. Mm-hmm. But it's come to a point where I feel like I can use my strengths elsewhere. So that's why we're running for Congress.
That's amazing. So throughout that process, moving out here, I think you moved out here maybe 2 years before, or maybe a year before the strike happened.
Correct. Yes. So we moved a little under 2 months. It was like a year and a half before the strikes. You know, we moved out here because we simply couldn't afford Los Angeles anymore with a growing family. And we had looked at other places for financial and climate as well. New York was just too cold and expensive. Chicago, the same thing. Mm-hmm. New Mexico, we've lived in the desert, wasn't really our shtick. And so we gave Atlanta a shot and we love it. So I'm sorry, what was the beginning question? I apologize.
So how was it transitioning here and then encountering the strike?
So the transition here was slow to be expected because we hadn't really made connections out here. Mm-hmm. But things were on the up and up, and then the strikes came. Right, we had the writers struck, the WGA struck. They got their deal. They can, it did slow us down for a while. So writers struck, actors struck, directors struck. Directors got a deal pretty quickly. They didn't have to actually go on strike. Theirs was done immediately almost. But then we had several months of no work because the writers weren't writing anything, the actors weren't acting in anything, and the crew was just left to fight over the crumbs that were left in the non-union world, so to speak, or the reality world. And so those strikes really put a damper on our momentum to be able to give our kids the life that we wanted to give them at that time.
Absolutely.
And so the strikes really kind of were a major wrench in our plan, I will say. And we got over them, and the IATSE, which is the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees, that's part of the union that the crew is a member of. And we got really close to striking, but we ended up getting a deal. But at that time, it didn't matter because most of the productions had decided to move overseas because the wages are cheaper overseas.
Absolutely, I heard about that.
Wages are cheaper overseas, and they don't have to pay into health insurance like they do for the employer based out here. So that was a big factor in a lot of these people moving overseas.
It was like Europe, right? They moved to.
Correct. So there's a lot in Europe. There's some, there's some sporadic in South America or Eastern Europe, but generally it's Europe. I mean, they just shot one of the Spider-Man movies, and they created New York Street in Glasgow, Scotland.
Wow.
So,
wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Marvel was out here in Atlanta. They had the stages. They had the ability.
They were creating New York here.
Right. They had the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, money spoke, right?
Yeah. I mean, so from what I heard, of course, rumors, it was also political, had to do with some laws that were passed as well as money.
It was a little bit, and one of the things is that I'm hoping to get in winning my congressional seat is to get a better understanding of why and to be able to fight for people so that we can ensure that the work doesn't go overseas, or that if it does, that there's some sort of insurance policy or reassurance for the folks that are here that still have mortgages to pay, that still have rent to pay, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the common man.
The common man, right?
Speaking of the common man, I think that at this point in time in our lives, we're all given so much information so fast and exposed to so many different levers being pulled and different people in our government. A lot of the common people don't really know what it means to hold one of these type of positions, like the one that you're going for, a congressman. Can you explain to people what a congressman does?
Absolutely. So it's actually incredible how many different facets of the job there are, right? You are not only a representative to your district, which in our case is District 7, which in Georgia, it's Sandy Springs, Roswell, Alpharetta, Cumming, Milton, a little bit of Lake Lanier, Dawsonville, and Dahlonega, and kind of those whole counties. It's really Lumpkin
Is it
County.
like a sprinkle of Ackworth in there?
There is not, unfortunately.
Okay.
Ackworth is in a different district. I'm not sure. They're actually split between two districts as well.
Okay.
So they have a little bit of Marjorie's District 14, and then I believe they have District 9, I believe. So what a congressman does, really, or a congresswoman, depending on who wins, they're a representative to their people. They should be accountable to their people. They are the point person in between the federal government, what's going on behind the scenes, and what they need to know about, right? And so it's really important to hold town halls. It's really important to allow people to ask in-person questions to get a better understanding of where this might affect them or where maybe we were to help them in a way, right? And so on top of that, you hear the term lawmakers a lot, and we're essentially lawmakers.
Yeah.
And I've had to do the research, and I'm like, okay, I'm not an attorney. I don't have any experience writing laws. I was just raised with a moral compass and a spine.
Okay, yeah,
so
that's something that's needed.
something
Absolutely,
that's needed.
absolutely.
And so, it's a multifaceted job. And at the end of the day, they have some of the greatest power in the world. And right now we're not seeing, out of the 535 elected officials, which 100 of those are in the Senate and 435 are in the lower chambers of the Congress, we're not seeing the accountability that we need to see in our country, right? We're seeing people hold lifelong political positions. We're seeing big money come into politics that doesn't need to be there, right? There's a lot of things that keep grassroots candidates like myself back. And it's these large fees. It's a fee in Georgia that we were able to finally secure on top of what we're already paying is over $5,000. In Florida, it's over $10,000. In states like Washington, I believe I have a colleague saying it was only $100. So it's very different, right? But there's all these little different things that they try to put in order to kind of prevent people or maybe dissuade people from wanting to run so that they can put in their more establishment people, right? And so at the end of the day, my platform that I'm running is on accountability. We can't have things like term limits. We can't have things like Medicare for all. We can't have things like holding people accountable until we actually hold people accountable.
Absolutely.
Who are we supposed to be as the lawmakers if we're allowing our colleagues or the president or anyone in their cabinet to break the laws and get away with it? Who are we, right? So we need people in there. Can we curse on this or no?
Yeah.
We need people in there who give a shit, really.
Okay.
And I do. And we have over 800,000 people in my district. And I don't care if they vote for me or not. I hope they do, but that's their decision. And they need the representation that they're not getting, right? Right now, the person that we have in charge of our district has been sending out specific graphics. He did a thing the other day of President's Day, and it was only Republican presidents on the thing, right? As if no one else did anything good, right? So it's very polarized as far as who he should represent, right? I don't care if people don't like me because I want a better life for them or however it ends up working out. Realistically, I want to work for the people. I don't want to work for the corporations. So if people don't like that, that's their prerogative to not like that. But at the end of the day, I still want to hear what they have to say to me. And I think they deserve that respect.
Yeah, and these are all the functions of a congressman. Like you have to hold the town hall meetings, you have to meet with the people, you have to do constituent work.
And you have to keep them aware of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
I don't think weekly newsletters are enough. I'm very vocal and very active on social media. I have a fairly large TikTok following. As from my own perspective, I have a lot of friends that are way higher, but I feel like it's this great outlet that people can get instant news from or instant updates, right? If I'm walking to another meeting and I have information that I can share with my constituents or I can share publicly, why am I going to hold that from them? Why am I going to wait till the weekend to tell them what happened 6 days prior? I'm going to tell them right then and there, right? And so I think it's very important to, like I said, be very transparent all the time and just keep people informed. Otherwise, they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, these sound like you're, I believe you have like a 5-pillar idea. That's what it sounds like, right? That's what you're doing. It's 5 pillars that you stand for. Could you explain that too?
Yeah, well, so I'm trying to even remember the 5 pillars that you would be talking about. Just so I'm aware. Did you have? I don't.
Yeah,
think,
you
I
had
don't know
a 5-pillar idea as to how the country would run itself and be able to fund all of these different facets that we need, such as healthcare, such as holding people accountable, such as building up affordable housing and infrastructure for the people, but utilizing taxing the rich. And it's you had like 5 pillars, and I really like the 4th one. I believe you spoke on stopping these big corporations giving bonuses and
CEOs.
and writing them off as taxable.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of things standing in the way of our country being great, and a lot of it is from corporate greed, unfortunately. And so one of the things that I am trying to propose and get people behind is a transaction fee, like a very micro transaction fee. So micro that you don't even really see it. But there is a company, I forget the exact name. We'll have to put it in the chat or the messaging. But there is a company that handles $21 trillion worth of transactions every single day in the United States. Now, I don't know specifically if that is only in the United States or if they're just a United States-based company and they do multiple areas, but that's a lot of money. I mean, and if my thought process on this is to potentially have almost a sales tax, but on every single transaction. Now that can be 0.05%, 0.1%, something so negligible that it's just a part of business, right? But what that will do is, over the course of however many hundreds of thousands of transactions per day, this has the opportunity to raise several $100 billion, if not more, right? And so I think that's something that we should look at, because most of the time people get their tax breaks at the end of the year or in the new year after they've already written everything off, right? So they can hide their money at that point, but you can't hide a transaction, right? So that's one of the ideas that I've kind of been floating around between myself and a few other candidates. Another one is to ban congressional stock trading in general. I think that has that's a huge factor in where the stock market is and why people are so obsessed with it, and it has no real relevance to the economy.
I can't remember her name. We know
Pam Bondi.
Is that who's
which one?
The one who's doing most? No, it's the one who does the trading and is
Pelosi.
Yeah. Pelosi. Yeah.
So my thing is, I'm going to offer 2 solutions for that, right? One is just outright banning the sale. I will say, the purchase of stock, right? Because if people own stock and it tanks, I'm not going to be like, you're screwed, sucks to be you, right? You'll be allowed to sell it in my opinion. But as far as rebuying it, that's where the problem lays, right? So if people know that something's going to happen and they sell before and then they rebuy at the dip, that's problematic. That's why we have people like Nancy Pelosi, whose net worth is 9 figures when their salary is only 6 figures, right? The math doesn't math. And then another option for that, if we don't want to do that, is to force Congress with major fines to post their trades within 24 hours. So that way people can trade accordingly if they need to or whatever. But the idea behind it is to sort of try to get rid of that whole thing of people knowing in advance and being able to trade on it and make money for themselves.
It's almost like insider trading.
It's absolutely insider trading, and they are sugarcoating it and not calling it that. Allegedly. And you got folks like Mike, got Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who says things like, well, they only make so much money and they need to have, and you make $174,000 a year minimum as a congressperson. You can live off that. I'm sorry. If you need to do insider trading to be able to afford coffees or to be able to afford gas, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. So just to jump back, where were you when you decided that this was the right move to make?
So the first spark, I will say, mind you, I wanted to be a career focused puller my whole life. I mean, I love what I do. It's fun. Every day I get to work, I get to wake up and go to some new set. But at the end of the day, we need more help in other places. And right now, when the first little spark that I saw was actually about a year ago. So our congressman held his last in-person town hall a year ago, and he got destroyed. I wasn't able to go, but I did know about it after the fact. Mm-hmm. I've seen all the videos. There's a lot of the people that were angry in there that are now a part of my team, which is really cool. They're ready for change. But just seeing his snarkiness and he was laughing at his constituents almost and brushing off their concerns when they were asking him. And I thought that was incredibly unprofessional and rude, especially just to those are the people that, regardless if they voted for you or not, you represent them. They deserve more than getting scoffed at or laughed at or told to relax, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that was it took a few months after that, but I think that started brewing in me. And then come around August, September, I had been really giving it thought because I'd been trying to get my knowledge and my skill set from film and try to put it into teaching perhaps, because there's so many film schools here that are amazing. Mm-hmm. And I was getting rejected. They would like it, but I didn't have enough teaching experience, or there's always some little thing. But I didn't want to give up, right? And so I knew that he was going to be up. I knew their midterms were coming up, and I said, you know what are the qualifications for this? And I realized the bar is really low. If for Congress, you have to be 25 years old and you have to have lived in the state, not even the district. You have to live in the state that you're going to be representing for at least, I think it's 1 or 2 years. And I had already surpassed it by over a year. And so I said, you know what? Why not? I started asking people around. I started giving it some thought, putting it out into the social media world. And a lot of people really resonated with kind of who I was and my message and kind of my beliefs and my morals. And I said, you know what, let's give it a shot. What do I got to lose? I'm still going to be having to work through running for Congress, which I currently am still working. But what's the worst that can happen? I rally up a bunch of people, I get people excited, and then God forbid we lose. So then I go back to my normal life, that's fine. But the least I can do is give people an opportunity to have something different that will actually work for them.
Yeah, throwing your hat in the ring. That's
exactly.
Noble. How do you see that affecting your family?
So, in certain races, it can get really dirty, I will say, and they can just go after your family. There's crazy people everywhere. Doesn't matter what district or what state you're in. There's people, there's radical people kind of everywhere. Luckily, we're in a gated area, so I feel a little bit more confident. It's not a community; it's just an apartment. But I think it's going to happen regardless. But I've already spoken with my wife about it. My kids are a little bit aware of what I do. They're still very young, but I don't think it's going to be as dangerous or as annoying, I guess, also as other races. So luckily, there's not a whole lot of people in my race, which is great. So it keeps it tight. But it's just a very real thing that we have to keep our head on a swivel, right?
Yeah. Your predecessor is Marjorie Taylor Greene, right?
No, so it's actually Rich McCormick. So Marjorie is in District 14, which is actually President Trump is going up to there today in Rome, Georgia, to try to rally up people behind the Republican the person that he wants to be the Republican candidate for their district. No, so mine is Rich McCormick. He came in 2022. He also ran in 2020. He lost to Lucy McBath, I believe, when it was District 6. They redistricted in 22. Then they redistricted again in 24. So now, where we're at now, there's actually no data for us to pull, which is really unfortunate. Like a lot of these districts have stayed that way for a while, and you can look back on data and be like, oh, we have data from the last midterms. Unfortunately, the last midterm, it was a completely different district.
Yeah.
So we have nothing to go off of, right? So At this point, it's really trying to be as organic as we can. It's trying to be at all the meetings, try to be at as many places at once as we can be, just to put face to face, with people, and so they can understand who I am instead of just from social media. But no, it's Rich McCormick, and we're looking to take him down.
So I did watch a few videos of Marjorie Taylor Greene in a recent podcast that she did with Jillian Michaels or Mitchell. And she spoke on how going into Congress, she was very naive. And I just wondered, how do you feel about going into Congress? Do you feel like you will be able to be heard with these points of views that you have? Because they are a very democratic point of view. And sometimes a democratic point of view can be against corporation, can be against oligarchy, can be against, control. And it seems like it's a lot of control happening right now and aiming us in different directions that the common man probably doesn't even want to happen, but it's happening anyway. How do you see yourself being able to make a change?
So going back to the point about Marjorie, I think when she ran, I believe it was in 2020, actually, because she was brand new when January 6th happened. She had, I think a lot of us were naive at that time, right? We thought something completely different about our government. I mean, we knew there was some shady stuff here and there, right? But the level of it that's been released and revealed to us over the last couple months, I think it was smart of her to leave the race. But I think myself going into this, I'm not ignorant to think that I'm going to know everything, right? I know that I'm going to need advisors. I know I'm going to have to learn as I go, right? As any congressperson should. But going into this, I'm confident because I feel at the end of the day, people are really out for themselves. And I feel like we see that on some sides where they really only care about themselves, right? My family's good, so that's all we care about. So if I can make that known to have that be for everyone and to push for being the change for other people, then that's a W for me in general. I mean, if people don't want what's best for them, I can't appeal to their interest then. I'm sorry. If people don't want what's best for them and they only care about their corporate employer, then that's fine. I hope you move up the corporate ladder. But
I think we've seen a lot of that, like people kind of moving against their own interests with this last election. I've seen quite a few videos of different farmers who stated, I voted for this, and now they're on live or on Instagram or TikTok exposing that their farmland is empty and that they're going bankrupt.
Yep.
So it's these type of things we kind of got to look at. It's the oxymoron of these decisions that are being made.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I think to that point as well, there's a lot of industries. It wasn't even just the farmers. There's so many people that have felt almost betrayed, right? And
Absolutely betrayed.
And I think it's important to still, of course, their perspective is still valid. I don't want to discredit that, right? But at the same time, it's like we were trying to make people aware that this might happen, and there's no I told you or anything, but look how it turned out, right? I hope we can move in a better direction moving forward. I feel that, I hope that these people that feel betrayed can get their voice heard in the next election, regardless of who that's for. But I hope that they go into the voting booth with a much better understanding that who they vote for it's a lot, it cannot be just, energy or it can't, not even energy. It can't just be like, because everyone else wants this person. You have to really look at their policies, who they are. You have to look into their background. And I really encourage you, whoever is running in your primary, whether it's Republican, Democrat, whatever, look at the people in your primary, because that is who's going to be on the ticket in the general. And that's incredibly important, right? So I think people's voices need to be heard, and the farmers that feel betrayed, they have the opportunity to do something about it really quickly, right? Primaries are coming up regardless of what state they're in. They have the opportunity to change out their representative to someone who might actually care for them and fight for them.
Yeah. So these are words that came from her. She said that she thought she could pass a balanced budget amendment because of the debt, of course. And she said that there are controlling industries and controlling donors, no matter who is in charge. Now, how do you feel about that? Because you will be surrounded by other people who are decision makers, and how do you stand alone in a room where other people are making a decision that's in the best interest of industry versus the common man? Do you have the courage to do that?
I do have the courage to do that. I don't care what it costs me. I think that doing the right thing, doing what you swore to do, was to represent the people in your district, is more important than anything that a corporate sponsor can give you, right? It's bigger than any, $50,000, $100,000 super PAC check to your campaign. At the end of the day, we work for the people, right? We don't work for corporations. Sorry, we don't. And so, trying to think what to say.
I mean,
I know.
You
that's kind of it.
Stated
really,
that well. You stated that well. She also said in this interview that she received a phone call from our president during the release of the Epstein files, and he was very angry with her, and he told her to take her name off, and that she was going to hurt his friends. This would hurt his friends. How would you digest a statement like that? Do you think you would be able to take that type of pressure and be able to still move with the decision that you're making?
Well, yeah. So first off, I don't answer my phone. You got to text or email me, so he ain't gonna get through. Second of all, I would look at that immediately and say, well, morally speaking, why are you associated with these people? I mean, why are you even in office if you're associated with these people that revealing this heinous information could take them down? I mean, that alone should disqualify you from even holding office like that. I would stand 10 toes down for my beliefs. I don't care. I mean, sorry, that wasn't my decision to make. I didn't make those horrible decisions.
Yeah.
I didn't choose to hurt people, Sorry.
I think that's what it's about.
I'm voting against you, buddy.
I think that's what it's about, standing up and doing the right thing.
Yeah. It shouldn't. It's almost sad that this is the bare minimum that we should, ask for, and we're not getting that. So I'm here to do the bare minimum. I'm not here to do the bare minimum. I'm here to give the bare minimum. Obviously, not the bare minimum. I'm here to do the work, really. I mean, and the work is being accountable and doing the right thing.
Accountability. That's what you stand for. So moving forward, you want to have change such as term limits. And I wrote down a few names of some of the oldest people in our Congress right now. I have Mitch McConnell, who had this horrible video of him completely losing his words. He didn't even know where he was at, it seemed like, for a second. And I was worried he was going to pass out.
It's a regular occurrence with that guy, unfortunately. And
we have, his name is Chuck Grassley.
I know the name. I can't put a face to him though.
Yeah, I think Chuck Grassley is the oldest. I think he's in his 90s.
Oh my God.
And then we have Hal Rogers, who was 87.
Yeah.
And looking at these names and seeing those ages, I can't trust that cognitively you're able to function properly.
Agreed.
I think how old are you?
I'm 36.
Yeah, you might be the youngest. You'll probably be the youngest.
No, there's Congress folks that are in their late 20s now. There was some people in, I think, Florida and Tennessee as well. They're pretty young, yeah. But yeah, we have to. We have to bring the ages down. We have to understand, this is not to be ageist at all, but at a certain point, cognitively speaking, right? There's that. I mean, you have to take a new driver's license test when you're over, I don't know what the age is, whether it's 65 or 70, but you have to retake these tests for a reason, right? Yeah. And the fact that we have people that are 20, 30 years outside of retirement age that are still making the laws for the future of our country, it sounds like they're holding on to power, right? So with term limits, for me, is also going to be age limits. I know everyone's probably going to have their, one of their favorite people, whether it's on the right or on the left, whether it's Trump or Bernie Sanders, right? These people are older, right? But at the end of the day, we need a fresh body of Congress in, right? And I don't care if that's 50-year-olds or 60-year-olds, but these folks that are in their 70s, 80s, and 90s that don't show up for their constituents. They don't answer the phone. They vote however they want. They're not being held accountable, and they all should be primaried.
And I think that at an age like that, you kind of a disconnect from the common man, because
Right.
you're most likely not working, and you're not out taking public transportation.
Nope.
You most likely aren't shopping for yourself.
You're not buying groceries.
Yeah,
I'll
so
tell you that.
you don't see prices
Yep.
on things. You're not going to go buy new cars. So there's a disconnect from the common man and
Yep.
his common purchases that are made every day. So I also wrote down the 5 priorities. So the first one, Medicare for all. Healthcare is a human right.
Yes. I think absolutely it is a human right. Our parents decided for us to come here, whether that was intentional or accidental, and that shouldn't be a death sentence for us, for folks that are maybe not earning wages to afford certain things, like health insurance. I mean, like I was saying before this, we lost health insurance. That affected us greatly. We had to go on COBRA for 4 months. It was $2,500 a month. That certainly did not help us, right? When my union insurance was only a couple $100 every month or every couple months, that's a huge change, right? And we had to have insurance because we had a 1-month-old at the time. We had a 2-year-old and a 1-month-old, and we needed them on insurance, so we had no other choice.
How was it in that moment?
It was beyond stressful. We didn't know where that money was going to come from. At that point, I was flying back to LA because we weren't officially here yet. We were in Pittsburgh while my daughter was born, so we would be close to family, right? Because our lease was up in LA months prior. So I was still flying back out there because that's where I was working. And I was trying to save everywhere I could, right? But I've lived this crap and it's not fun. I mean, our system is broken. We need to, I mean, it's going to hurt people to say, but we need to almost gut the health insurance industry, and we need to just do Medicare for all, because at the end of the day, like I said, it should be a human right. Food should be a human right. Shelter should be a human right. If you want these outlandish things, I think get a great job, do some crazy, do some cool freelance stuff and be able to afford that. But I think just basics, you're going to have a child paying attention a lot more if they have food in their belly in the beginning of the day, right? If they can accidentally break their arm and the mom doesn't have to go into debt for that, right? They can just go to a hospital and get it fixed. These are basic things that so many other more advanced first world countries have, especially in Europe, and they have these for their citizens. And you'll notice that the happiness level also goes up. It's almost a perfect match, right? And so a lot of the things that we have here in America is just stress. It's stress from debt, stress from medical stuff. Medical debt is the leading cause of bankruptcies, like medical bankruptcies. That has to stop. We tout ourselves as the greatest nation on earth, and I think in many ways we are, but we can do so much better, right?
How do you see us solving something like that?
We need to remove the Epstein class at the end of the day. We need to remove the entire class. And that's not all right? That's not all billionaires, but that's people that are allowing for this to happen. It's people that are allowing for these behind the scenes atrocities to happen, and these behind the scenes legislative bills getting passed that don't support folks like you and me, right? Yeah. They support the people that we owe the money to. So, yeah.
The next one I see here is lower cost of living and corporate gouging.
So lower cost of living, and it's a tougher pill to swallow, but as far as the corporate gouging, I think that's going to be one of the bigger issues with kind of getting things down and getting people's cost of living down. I've lived firsthand late fee after late fee on things. I have. It's not something I'm proud of, but there's no shame in the path that got me here, right? It's been able to open my eyes to something that happens to people every single day, right? And people get late fees on top of late fees. They'll get in this vicious cycle where they had no choice but to get something, and they could only get that help with a really sky high APR, right? And these things are designed to trap people in these cycles. And I think if we were to put a cap on interest rates for credit cards, for loans, for cars, for student loans, I think that could help people a lot, right? I think Trump removed the cap that they have, so that's why people are seeing outlandishly high APRs. But I think that's one of the things that we can do is having legislation to put that back in.
I think they're referred to now as predatory.
It is absolutely predatory. Yeah. Yes.
Of course, as we discussed earlier, term limits, real accountability in government. So the next one is transparency, accessibility, and trust in leadership.
Yep. So that one goes back to sort of what we were saying before is, having staff in my district office that is actually present, that will take questions, that does answer the phone, right? Holding regular town halls. We have 6 counties in Georgia's 7th Congressional District. That is North Fulton, East Cherokee, Southwest Hall, all of Forsyth, all of Dawson, and all of Lumpkin counties. It seems like a lot, but I have a lot of friends that are doing like 25 counties in like Eastern Georgia. So we have these, we have these counties, and my thought process is having one per county every 6 months and rotating it, right? So every county will have a month every 6 months where I will be there and they can meet and talk to me, right? Everyone from Georgia 7 will be welcome to any of the town halls, but there's no reason why we can't have an accessible representative to see and to talk with once a month, right? Mm-hmm. And transparency goes back to me being vocal about not just having weekly or monthly newsletters once I'm in, but when we have a team that can be a well-oiled machine, it's keeping them updated or doing a post here so people know what's happening, right? Or why I'm being stalled, why we can't pass this bill, right? It's not me sitting on my butt. It's that we have the powers that be, or we don't have the votes yet, right? Mm-hmm. And we have to talk to some folks and try to bring them on our side. So it really is just about keeping the people in our district and nationwide informed. And it's the least we can do, right?
I think the biggest thing though is trust and leadership, because after COVID, of course, with the current Epstein files out, yep. I think that's been damaged. Yeah. In a to a dangerous limit. Yeah. To where some people are discussing revolting and yep. Which I'm not saying that. I'm saying I understand. I understand where they're coming from. People feel trapped. People feel like they're cornered. They have no other option right now. They feel like the government is working like vehemently against them, right? And we see that a lot in the news that we take in every day, regardless of the source. How do you connect with the common man, but not just the common man? We have the Black and the brown communities. We have some immigrants who even might be from Europe or from Africa. These people coming over here, they're scared to come over here now. Absolutely. How do you connect as a congressman? How would you connect with them to kind of show that they can trust in you?
So really it's just speaking with groups and communities in general, right? I have someone in my district who's a member of the Muslim community up in Forsyth County. Mm-hmm. She's been incredibly welcoming on, first of all, keep me informed for Ramadan, which started last night, and just about their potential needs, because at the end of the day, you have some people that might have voted for the current administration, and you have some people that are fearful of the current administration, right? And it's sort of starting to blend at points, especially for folks that might not have been born in the United States. In District 7, for instance, 21% of our population was not even born in the United States. Now, that doesn't have any that doesn't necessarily represent that they are all not citizens, but that is still something that they came here at one point, right? Mm-hmm. They might have gotten citizenship. They might be on green cards. They might be on whatever they're on right now. But these people are here, and that's over 1/5 of our people. Mm-hmm. They need to know that when I'm in office, I'm not going to stand for the ICE facilities that are currently in our state. I'm going to support Senator Warnock in trying to ban those from being in our state, right? And so I think it's just important to have a representative that, like I said earlier, gives a shit. And I do. And I don't think that treating people this way, regardless of their skin color, their faith, their sexual identity, their gender, what have you, that should have no
bearing.
Yeah, that should have no bearing on really how we treat them. Mm-hmm. At a bare minimum, I was raised Catholic. I was raised treat others how you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get harassed by ICE. I don't want to be detained or punched or God forbid, killed by ICE for just existing or for just be questioning why you're getting assaulted. I don't want that for anyone, right? And the current representative seems to be okay with that. He seems to be pro-ICE, and he has not really spoken to the immigrant community in our district with where he stands, and that's really unfortunate.
That's interesting. The last thing you put down was the worker protections and the rights to organize.
So we have in Georgia, we are a right to work state, which means, I'm a union member myself, card carrying union member, but in the state of Georgia, which I started my unionship in California, but in the state of Georgia, you don't necessarily need to be a union member to work on union productions, right? So there's a little bit of, crossover with people that are trained, like properly trained, because in the union, there are classes that you have to take to be properly trained, right? When you have non-union folks come in, they bring a certain and granted, a lot of people that work non-union are very skilled. They know what they're doing, right? But in the off chance that someone is not properly trained, that could be detrimental to the crew. They could be taking jobs from hardworking, dues-paying union members, right? And to that same note, when the strikes happened and when production started to move overseas, like I said, the crew is feeling that left and right. We had people lose their houses, lose their marriages. Some even lost their life. And it's incredibly unfortunate that we don't have anyone in Congress or anyone really in power that understands what's going on, because the film production world is such a unique world. It's a bunch of people call it a bunch of carnies working, these crazy hours and all these different projects. But at the end of the day, when you don't have that protection to ensure that the work is going to be where you live, where you moved or where you live, that's scary, right? And people sometimes feel that they have no other way out, but unfortunately taking their own life. And we need to do better. And this is across all industries. This isn't just a film related thing. This is all industries where you have folks that are moving productions overseas, and granted, there are some tariffs that have maybe brought some things back, but at the behest of our spending. We are the ones that are paying the tariffs. So, there's just we need someone in there who's lived through the mud and who's willing to get dirty to do right by the working class for once. Because right now it's the Epstein class running everything, and we got to stop that.
Absolutely, I can't agree more. I think one issue of at least my generation of millennials that we worried about a lot or more often is affordable housing.
Yeah.
I saw that as a kind of subcategory. Was that something that you see being possible in the near future?
So yeah, with housing, it's not even a subcategory. It's really just that I had like 5 kind of main points, and then I think I have like 25 other points. It's a lot. But with housing, I forget the exact metric, but we have more, like exponentially more houses than we have people, right? Or than we have families, right? There are so many housing developments that were maybe created for luxury purpose. Everything's luxury these days, right? You can't see a new apartment being built without it being called luxury,
yeah.
right? And they put a little porch, a little something there, a halfway decent, the bare minimum decent, microwave or fridge, luxury. Right now we can charge $3,000 for whatever. So certain things like that just sit vacant for a while, we shouldn't have. We should expand access to affordable housing. I think the government can do a lot of good with that. And also we should probably audit. I don't know this current status. I feel like every audit opportunity that we've had has just been stripped with this new administration. But there really needs to be an audit on how many houses are sitting vacant, what the current ownership is looking like. Can the government possibly step in and give that person a fair market value and have someone live in there for, a lower cost? There's, it's something that I don't have insight into. I'm not a homeowner myself, right? We were ready to buy a house February of 2020, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
Work stopped, nothing, right? We had no proof of income at that point, from that point on. And so I haven't gotten to that point where I kind of know what it's like to be a homeowner. But I just know that for so many people, it is so out of reach And the average age of a new homeowner now is 40 years old.
Yeah.
That's shameful, right? You have the boomer class, the boomer groups that they all bought when they were 20 or 30, and they're sitting cushy, right?
They love to tell you about it.
They love to tell you about it, and how you should work harder and stop eating avocado toast. So, it's going to be a hard thing to tackle, but it does go back to accountability. It goes back to, even in the rental market itself. I mean, affordable housing doesn't have to just mean home ownership, right? It can mean bringing rents down as well. And we see so many corporations buying up houses left and right, and just then they'll sell one for a little bit more, or they'll buy their own home for more than the market value. Yeah. So it shows on paper, well, now the neighborhood's going up in price. Then the value of everything just went up, property taxes just went up, and they can rent it out however much they want.
Yeah, I noticed that during the pandemic, during COVID. I was living in Vegas, and they were purchasing, there was a lot of corporations purchasing houses $10,000 over asking price every time. And that was the story I was hearing from everybody. It was like, oh, they bought it $10,000 over. It was like the standard. And they kind of raised property value and the cost of houses in a tremendous way.
And it screws everyone over. And honestly, I don't know, outside of making life a subscription and having everyone only be able to rent forever, there's no reason why we should be doing this. I mean, any person with their head on straight should see this as a problem, right? I mean, corporations can own certain things, but it's hard to, put kind of guardrails on that, because you can have a company that owns another company that owns another company, and everything is spread between that, and it's really just one owner, right? So we have to really look into our tax code and look into how that's possible, and seeing if we can do something about that. I know a lot of those kind of rentals and things have been stifled here in Atlanta. I don't think you can actually own anything and rent it out unless you actually live in Atlanta, which is it's great for Atlanta at least. But at the end of the day, I got to look into everything more. I feel like once everything's there, I can have a more clear answer on things. But I just know that we can do so much better.
Yeah, you seem very knowledgeable about everything. I've heard rumors about different people in Congress who absolutely don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Can't rattle off information in a way that you do. Actually knowledgeable, actually current. So it's definitely good to see.
I try, and I'll be the first to say I don't know everything, and I will happily call up a friend or call up an advisor now that I have, which is great, and ask for help, or look on Google or ask the right people, right? But we can't have people be ignorant anymore. They have to care about every issue, because every issue affects everyone. Absolutely.
So at what point, I know when you decided to do it, but at what point did you feel like I can win?
So I think, honestly, before today we secured ballot access, which was an amazing milestone, because now we, outside of timing and just going and filing everything, we are on the ballot. That alone for me and for us is a huge win, I think, for Georgia. But this was probably at the end of last year. Nothing in particular, but just people understanding my message more, people resonating with what I have to say, and as well being questioned by folks that voted for our current representative, who we were able to have a discourse over, and they actually left happier because I was able to just speak with them like normal, instead of fighting over threads or fighting on TikTok, right? I was able to have a decent conversation, or even just a response to them that they understood and they respected, right? And I think that's a huge thing, is not necessarily convincing 100% of the people, but just having them understand that you're willing to work with them, you're willing to work for the betterment of their life, regardless of party lines, right? And I think that's important, right? It's not going to be, because I'm running as a Democrat, it doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to align with 100% of the things that the Democrats do. And I'm not going to, I might align with some Republicans here, I might align with some folks there. But it's really just about being accessible and being an open book, and not being scared to have that conversation with people.
So I see the current atmosphere, the current environment becoming anti-tribalism, so people are getting away from just, I'm a Democrat, so I'm doing everything the Democrats are doing. Or I'm
Correct.
a Republican, I'm doing everything the Republicans are doing. So we're like, people are actually having open conversations. So do you find yourself having more, because you're a Democrat, right?
Correct, yes.
Right, so you're having more open conversations with Republicans, and you can see like, hey, we do agree on the same thing.
Yeah, it's actually been really nice. And I have some friends that voted for MAGA and voted up and down, and we've had disagreements here and there. But at the end of the day, and they were really kind of my ground zero for everything, for just being able to have that discourse before I even wanted to run, really just having that open conversation, to where you realize that most of the time, more often than not, most people have the same values. Most people want the same thing. They want a better life for their family. They want a safe environment to raise their kids, right? They want lower taxes. They don't want to be paying an arm and a leg for certain things. The difference where that lies is what we're being told or what we believe is the course of action for that, right? So for a lot of people, the course of action for immigration is just breaking people's, constitutional rights and just throwing them out, and who cares? They're a number now. We got another one.
Yeah.
But as people, we shouldn't, right? We should really take a step back and look at that and be like, none of this is legal. None of this is right. It's not ethical. It's not moral.
Yeah.
We can do better than that. And like I said, having those conversations with people to get your point of view. You're not going to convince them every single time, but if you can convince them maybe to go back to their own morals and their own values when they were raised, right, to treat others with respect, or to love thy neighbor as thyself, then maybe we can get through to a couple more people to make this country better.
Have a good conversation about it, at
Really.
least. I think that as we move forward, we have to also see what's looking us back in the face, which is AI, and how it's like it's either replacing jobs or creating uncertainty. Data information is very important. I saw you had AI, data privacy, and digital protections as also one of the points that you wanted to, make known and touch on. How do you see the future looking, and what would you want to see in place to protect the common man?
So I would want to almost have. So I have a friend. He's not a constituent. He's actually in a different district. He sent me a proposal which I thought was great. It's a constitutional amendment. It's another amendment, but it would essentially say that your biometric data is your own personal data, right? So your eyes, your face, obviously your fingerprints with with federal or whatever, that's fine. But as far as your data, that should be sacred. That should be yours, right? I think there's other ways we can find people instead of just being like looking at you through a mask and being like, that's him, got him. I think it's a dangerous thing that people are selling our biometric data left and right. And as far as like AI and data centers, I think it's important to, and a lot of the cities that we've had in Georgia and a lot of counties have, either tabled the idea of having a data center or have completely, revoked the idea or pushed back. And, data centers are going to be here for a while, I think, but I think the scale of them and how much of the water supply that they need to do what they do at the detriment of the folks that live in the area that need that fresh water supply, I think they need to pay more for that. They need to pay the difference. They don't need to pass it on to the folks, in the area. And I also want to audit,
Before you move past that, can you elaborate a little more on that? Because I don't think people understand what's happening to the water supply when AI is involved and it's flowing through the data centers.
Sure. So with data centers, there's these massive machines that take a lot of energy and they get really hot, I believe. But they need water. I don't know the logistics behind it, but they need water to do what they do, right? And the bigger the operation is, the more water they're going to use. So one of the things that I want to do, and I'm sure this has been brought up, but again, I'm not nosy, but I'm very like curious and want to know everything. And so my question is, why would we have to take the fresh water and give it to them first, and then we get whatever's left? Why can't we change the order of operations, allow them to have allow the people to have the fresh water, and we can take the runoff, right, to keep that cool? So that's something I'm toying with, just because I don't know how it works, but we need to take into account that this affects people's everyday cost of living. It affects the purity or contamination of their water. It affects so many different things, right? And when these big corporations are coming in and buying up land and running through the city hall real quick and the county and getting an approval without actually looking at the waste from that area, or how much water it's taking, or the environmental damage that could come from it, or the noise, right? A lot of these places are right outside of a neighborhood, and they might be zoned for certain things, but they are loud as hell. And it is just a detriment. It's an ugly, it lowers the property value for some places. It really just affects people overall, right?
Yeah. And I hear they give off some kind of waves as well.
Yes.
That's kind of like affecting people, like their skin getting rashes and other things.
Yeah, there's a place just outside of Memphis, Tennessee, that I believe is Elon Musk's, and the residents of that town have been plagued with, like you said, they have a respiratory issue, they have skin issues. They're seeing issues left and right, and it would not shock me, unfortunately, to see cancer rates rise in those people, right? And we absolutely should do something about that, right? If whether it's in our backyard here in Georgia or in Tennessee, from a federal standpoint, we cannot overlook what's happening to our environment and the risk that it is posing to the people in these areas, right? These are taxpayers as well. Their voice, whether there's 2 people that live there or 200,000 people that live there, their voices matter, and they should not be put below the needs of a corporation.
Absolutely. I think it's admirable that you think about the common man. I think that's what we're missing,
For sure.
honestly.
Well, thank you.
In the current climate.
Absolutely.
I also remember a statement that Marjorie Taylor Greene said, where she spoke on how her family was threatened. What are your thoughts moving forward with this decision to go into Congress, knowing that you have the views that you have and they might be opposed in such a dangerous way?
I'm sort of taking everything week by week.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I feel like come May 20th, once we get that W, we'll start to really consider a lot more, right? I think I've actually spoken with an advisor about that as well, about maybe talking to the local police and just having them aware that, hey, I live close by, and just so you know, I'm a candidate for Congress, and if you hear anything, maybe keep me informed, give them my number and all that. Just really just being cordial to the local people. And I'm aware every day we're in a constitutional carry state where anything could happen at any point, right? I think that's just a risk that people have to take, unfortunately. But the good thing is that I feel like my views align more with, someone who wants better for everyone, instead of who's just listening to their leader about whatever they have to say and parroting the talking points. So it's a very real thing. I don't think it's going to be as gnarly as it could be, for lack of a better term.
I understand. What do you think is something that the common man should do to be more involved in not only your process, but just the process and making a better decision in their own communities?
Absolutely check your voter record. Make sure you are squared away. Make sure you are, whether you have an open primary state or a closed primary state. I think we're a closed primary state here, and the difference is that in open primary states, I'm not sure which ones are open primary, but those states you can be a registered Republican and you can still take a Democratic primary thing to vote on, right? So it doesn't have to be that way. I believe in Georgia, it's a closed primary state. So if you're a registered Democrat, you only get to vote on whoever the primary contenders are for the Democratic Party. Same thing with the Republican Party as well. It's just really knowing who the people are that are running, because a lot of people, they look at the time and go, oh my God, yesterday was the cutoff for the primaries. We don't, who won, whatever. Primaries are generally a much lower voter turnout than the general. And that's something that people just need to be aware of, right? So wherever you are in the United States, do the research, find out where your address is. And I think you can even look it up on Google. You can literally type in your address and say district or congressional district. It'll tell you who it is. It'll tell you who your person is. And look up, primary challengers, whether you're voting as a Republican or voting as a Democrat. Definitely do the research on your primary contenders, because the winner of that is who is going to represent the party come November.
How do you see yourself opposed to other Democrats? Like, how do you stand out? How would you say that you stand out?
So I stand out because I am very pro human rights all over. I think there's been a lot of establishment Democrats and Republicans alike that are still, sending military aid to countries that are committing atrocities in their own country. And I don't stand for that. I call it what I see it, and to me, it is a genocide. That is nothing against, and this is what I'm talking about in places like Palestine, right? It's unfortunate that we still have people that are not willing to call it what it seems that it is, and I'm not scared to say what it is. There's a lot of progressive candidates running federally that agree as well. A lot of us agree that we should abolish ICE as well. I mean, we know that saying that is not just allowing for mass migration to come, right? There still needs to be procedures in place.
Absolutely.
But the way that we're doing it, it's not morally, it's not ethically right. Obama did deport more people, technically, but he did it in a way that wasn't, stripping people's rights. It wasn't really abusing people or assaulting people. I think there might have been a little chaos at first, but then Congress reeled him in. Right now, we have Congress that's majority doesn't care. They couldn't really care less. So,
and that's one of their jobs, right? Is
to oversee that and call it what it is. So.
Okay. Well, is there something that we didn't touch on that you feel like we should?
Not really. No. I think that was pretty good. Yeah. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I think I'm good as well. I think you're doing a good job. I think I want to see you progress even further and hopefully win, man.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see somebody in charge that has an eye for the people and has the people in his mind as far as moving forward. Yeah.
It's the least we can do as people who are elected by hundreds of thousands of people. Right? It's the least we can do.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
There's been another episode of Walking Atlanta. Peace.